Hello, hello, hello. This is Zia Clipse Gaming, and I've been wanting to make a D&D video for a while because the last one I did was basically just saying that we were releasing 2 publications, and that was last summer. So goodness, it's been a while. I did make some other Dragon Ball Z videos for some Dragon Ball Z stuff I was selling, but now let's get back to D&D. I decided today I would show what my house rules are for the campaigns that I run. And number one is and I love this. I always play with brutal criticals, and I had to tinker with this a little bit to try to figure out how to do a critical with a spellcaster or somebody who's using melee. So this is what I came up with. When you roll a critical with a weapon, your damage roll is maxed. So when you hit with the critical with the weapon, then you would roll your additional damage die. That die is always the max number. That way, if you roll 1 in the first one, your other one will be a D10 or D6, whatever you're rolling. That's because I had seen a few 20s, and I've seen 2 1s get rolled or something like that. It's like, you rolled a critical, and you do 2 damage. So I was like, oh gosh, I hated that. I was like, I can't play with that. Nope, gotta do brutal criticals. And I came up for the spellcasters is with a spell attack and a critical. The base damage of the spell is maxed out on a quarter of the damage dice rounded up. So, for example, if somebody rolls a spell and it's 14d6 damage, huge, massive fireball or whatever, right? You would then only have 4d6, which would be 28 maxed added to the regular damage roll. So, for spellcasters, they would get a quarter of their damage dice maxed out, and that's what damage they would do with their brutal critical. And yeah, and then the second one I've always played with is the way I do frightened condition is similar to the fear spell, which means it causes movement away from the activator of the frightened condition. Because I've seen on some of these where the players fell and they get hit with frightened, but they're still able to stay toe to toe in combat with this creature and still do their melee attacks perfectly and things like that. And I was like, there's got to be some sort of penalty for failing that frightened and getting. And I saw the fear spell. I actually liked how the fear spell had it to where they had to flee, and so that's one of the house rules I play with. And then the other thing I do is I do a different version of flanking. Instead of getting advantage on flanking, I actually just have it be a D4 added to your roll. Advantage I thought was too much. It's too strong to be like, oh, well. But I think for flanking, there should be a little bit of a boost. And I think a D4 is a perfect amount for a little bit of a boost for flanking. And it also works for you as a DM when your monster swarms somebody. It doesn't give you advantage, but it gives you a D4 on your monster attacks against your players. And the other thing I do is I don't really do very much shopping in the game because most of the games I'm running now are online. So when the players want to do shopping or things like that, I have it done all offline on Discord. And then so when we actually have game time, we're not spending game time going around and buying healing potions or a short sword or 20 bows and arrows, you know. We take care of all that on the Discord channel. And then the game time is purely RP or combat or exploring. The way I roll stats is I always have players roll 4d6, and then they re-roll those dice until they have at least a 9 in each category. Re-rolling 1s or 2s and only keeping 3s or better. So that means if they roll 3 3s, they have at least a 9, and then they have to take those top 3 numbers. But yeah, so that's just basically means the lowest number they could have is a 9 in a stat, and the highest they could have in a stat is 18. If they roll 3 6s, which would be amazing, right? You get 3 6s, that's pretty good. I don't roll like that, but some people do, I guess. I'm like, really? You rolled 3 6s? Oh my goodness. The other rule I have is when we're in combat, a lot of times the turn player will be trying to talk and somebody else will talk over them. And so that's a little bit of an issue when you're playing with online. So what I started instituting is only the turn player can be talking during their turn. And then when it's not their turn, then the other players can talk. And the second I say like, oh, it's so-and-so's turn, only that person's able to talk. That I think it actually helped out a lot with like players talking over each other or interrupting online, because that's like an issue online is being able to tell who's talking right now, sort of thing. And yeah, that's it. Those are the house rules for Zia Clipse Gaming. Fairly simple. brutal criticals, modified frightened condition, and modified flanking. I just remembered another one I had in campaign that I really liked, and that was a mounted combat advantage. And I believe that was a boost to the armor class as well as a boost to the attack if the player is mounted. And yeah, and so that sort of drove my players to go find horses, and they definitely wanted to be mounted after they had those benefits. And I think like being mounted, it would be harder to hit somebody on a horse, but there was also animal handling checks, and they did get bucked off a few times. I want to say that maybe like 3 or 4 times during the whole campaign, and I had the horses get spooked. Like I was thinking of a DC, and like whatever happened, I think like how likely would this be to spook the horse, and like something small or minor, they would probably make a DC 12 for them to do an animal handling check to get the horse not to buck. But if it's like getting blasted with a fireball or something like that, that's going to scare a horse. And so in that case, I thought the horse would probably, whether or not we get spooked, would be like a DC 17 or 18 about. Maybe it should be higher. But that's sort of what I think about when I'm DMing stuff. And yeah, so I can't wait to make another video. I've been putting this one off for a while. And yeah. So I will see you all around.